Kids don't forget.
Kids don't forget.
You kids don't forget.
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 James, what's up, baby?
What's up?
How you feeling today?
I'm good.
What would you say? Oh, well, your name has probably never been mispronounced ever. What is it?
James Thompson.
Can't get more straightforward than that.
Absolutely not.
But has your name ever been mispronounced in your life?
Nah.
No, never. Okay. What were some of your nicknames growing up?
So my first nickname was Jamie.
Jamie.
So that was my family nickname.
Right.
And then
So everybody in your family calls you Jamie.
everybody called me Jamie. But
Okay.
when I got to high school, my older brother was in high school, of course, before me.
Right.
So his family nickname was Munchie.
Munchie.
So I got to high school and everybody kept calling me Munchie. So my older brother was like, listen, y'all can't keep on calling him Munchie and calling me Munchie. So they started calling me Crunch and Munch first.
Crunch
So
and Munch.
My freshman year, I was Crunch and Munch, and
Right.
then that evolved to Crunchy. And so
Okay.
I've been to the people who know me from high school, I've been Crunchy ever since.
Crunchy. And probably some people shorten it up to Crunch.
Yeah, Crunch.
Crunch or
absolutely.
Crunchy.
Absolutely.
So those were your only two nicknames. Well, three. You had Jamie,
Yeah.
Crunch and Munch, and that evolved into Crunchy.
But so my family still calls me Jamie. Like
Okay.
all my nieces and nephews, they call me Uncle Jamie.
Okay.
And then anybody that I run into that
You went to school with.
I went to high school with, they call me Crunch or Crunchy.
Right.
So,
So if you were like some random place like Iowa at the airport, somebody like, yo, Jamie, you know that that's somebody in your family.
they have to be somebody that's either really close to my family or part of my family.
And if somebody says, if you're like in Houston, Texas, and you hear Crunch,
then that will be somebody from high school.
got it.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
speaking of that, so we mentioned Houston, Texas. We mentioned places where you're not from.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from?
So I'm from Camden, New Jersey.
Okay. Do you claim a specific neighborhood?
Yeah, so I grew up in Fairview.
The Fairview section. Okay.
Yeah, and so that they in Camden they differentiated by White Fairview and then just Fairview.
Right,
So I grew up on the Fairview side by
Okay.
Morgan Village.
So would that be the more hood side of Fairview?
Yeah, I was right on Lakeshore Drive. LSD.
Okay, got it. How would you describe your neighborhood growing up?
I mean, it was tough. I mean, the same stuff basically, I guess, that goes on in all of the tough neighborhoods in the city.
Like what?
You had we were on right at the end of the block, so we were on the drug corner.
Okay.
We were across the street from the apartment complex, so that was there. And it's funny, I never really looked at it as something that was
Negative.
yeah, until as I got older and I started to hear different things that people would say about the communities that they grew up in, and I would realize that I grew up around a lot of the same things. Like I've had situations where I've heard gunfire. I've seen people shot. I've been in the front yard when the police do a raid. I've seen all of those things. So.
Okay.
But my parents did such a good job protecting us and making sure that those things didn't impact our outlook on life or our comfortability and how we moved on from day to day, that it never even really fazed me. And so I think the impact that it has on me is probably a lot different than maybe some of my neighbors that didn't have that influence in the house.
Okay, so you're saying you didn't really experience the hood the way the rest of the people experienced the hood.
Yeah, I was in it. I was in the heart of it. I was right where it was all going on.
You were like at the center of a hurricane.
I was in the middle of it. And,
Right.
But the familial structure was so strong, so tight that
Okay.
it didn't even matter.
So let's talk about that for a second. Were you an only child?
No.
So what would you say is first of all, are you the oldest or the youngest?
I'm the second oldest.
You're the second oldest.
Second oldest.
What would you say is the age gap between you and your youngest sibling that you grew up with?
There's a 16-year age gap.
16-year age gap. So let's pretend, I want you to pretend that you're 18 years old.
Yeah.
You're 18 years old right now. List your siblings by age.
So I have an older brother. That's Munchie.
How old is? And you don't have to say their
So he
names.
would
if you
have
don't
been
want to.
21 if I was 18.
If you're 18, he's
he would be
21. Okay.
Then I have 17,
Okay.
16.
This is
15,
brothers. 17 is a brother.
17 is a brother. 16
16
is a brother. Then 15 sister.
Okay.
13 sister.
Okay.
Then I think that was.
That's 4
7
boys and
years.
2 girls so
4 boys
far.
and 2 girls, and the next 2 were girls, and so the last 2 were 16. So now working back up, he's 1 year older than him, so that would be
2 and 3.
there would be no. That would be 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So you grew up in a healthy mix of siblings who were the same age as you,
Yes.
and way younger than you.
Absolutely.
What was your house like growing up?
It was always very active.
First of all, how many siblings is there? I lost count.
That's 10 of us.
There's 10 of you
yeah.
guys in
Yeah.
one house under one
Yeah,
roof.
9 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And I know that this
How many bedrooms, before you even get to that, how many bedrooms was in your house?
So we had three bedrooms. There was 2 upstairs and 1 downstairs, and
Okay.
then we used the basement as
a room.
as space as well.
Okay, so I can imagine that the 2 oldest were in the basement?
Yeah, we got moved down to the basement.
Okay.
I don't know if that was demotion or
The girls had their own room.
Yeah, so they were upstairs. The girls were
Okay.
upstairs.
Okay.
Then my parents' room was upstairs.
Okay.
And then then everybody in the middle was on the first floor in the middle. But honestly, we all had our rooms, we had our beds, we had our space to go to sleep. But typically we would all just hang out together. And so like
Okay.
wherever we went out. And so like if we was all sleeping in the living room, we'd be in the living room. If we was all like in somebody's bedroom doing something, and that's where we would go to sleep. So
Okay.
it was I think in a space like that, extremely loose by way of expectations that way. We absolutely had a bedtime. They expected us to be in bed in a reasonable time, and
Right.
they woke us up. There was no missing school because we woke up late. Like all of the expectations of a regular situation were completely intact. And the only thing that was different is that there were so many of us that
Right.
that was just like a really free part of how we grew up.
So you grew up with both parents?
Yes.
Okay. The entire time?
Yes.
I like
Both
to
parents.
I like to say that you are probably the second most minority in the hood. Okay? So tell me if you agree with these, my top 5. So the largest minority in the hood that we grew up in are kids who grew up with just their dad. Like, I live with my dad. Agree? That's probably the rarest thing.
Yeah. Go with your dad.
Right. The second rarest thing is kids in the neighborhood who grew up with both parents the entire time. For some people, it's like I lived with both parents until I was 14.
Yeah.
Or when I was 11, like my
Yeah.
parents split up. So you are like the minority, right? And then so after that, it's probably actually number 3 were probably foster kids. There's probably more foster kids, a lot of foster kids, I think, in the neighborhood. Like, I just think there's a lot.
And I didn't even honestly, I knew that there were some families where, they didn't have both mom and dad in the house, but
Right.
it didn't even dawn on me as I was coming up that a lot of the families that were around us were, families where that wasn't even their parents. That was, somebody else was caring for them. And by way of foster, that could be whether it be someone who adopted them or, aunt, uncle.
That's what I was
cousin.
going to say next. That's
So,
the third. That's the second category,
Yeah.
which I think is the most, is a kid they live with their grandma. Grandmama's probably number 2, like by itself.
That's right.
And then
That's
the
right.
asterisk is the aunt, the uncle.
Yeah.
I live with my sister or my
Yeah.
brother, something like a family member.
Yep.
But for the most part, it's grandma.
Yeah.
And then the majority of kids who grew up in the hood live with just their mom.
That's
I think people, period, the majority is like, I live with my mom. That's like the spectrum.
And that was typically what I what I saw, but it wasn't it just wasn't something that was relevant to me because it wasn't something that I was experiencing. But as I got older and into working with youth, I realized that was a big deal.
Okay, so let's talk about your parents for a second. How would you describe your relationship with them? How would you describe your relationship with your mother and your relationship with your father? Like, start with one of them and then work towards the other one.
So, my relationship with my mother was, my mom. She was the caregiver. She was the one that always made sure that we felt loved, and she was all about just ensuring that there was equity in what happened, and we just everybody. I almost every time I think about it, I don't even understand how she did it, but
Right.
she was able to I didn't feel like she had a favorite. I didn't feel like I was ever slighted in any way, and how do you do that with
Right,
10
with 10 kids, right.
So she did a fantastic job with that, and she when you think about someone who's in a mother role, think about my mom times 10. Like she when I say she handled the business of being a mom.
What's her name, by the way?
She's Esther. So
Miss Esther. Okay, okay.
So she. Like I said, she graduated from college. My parents met when they were at
Where did she go?
Rutgers in New Brunswick. So
Okay.
she went to Douglas, he went to Rutgers, and they met there. And so my mom had her degree, but
In what? Do you know?
I want to say early childhood.
Okay. Well, wow, that
So-
makes sense.
So she had a degree. She had her certificate to be a teacher, but she chose to stay home with her kids, and so.
But so she took education seriously.
She took education so seriously that she ended up got into writing, became an author. She wrote. She started off writing in magazines. I remember always seeing like copies of Family Circle because there would be times where her articles got published in Family Circle, and then she wrote a book, Mother Love.
Okay.
And then, so she had the book Mother Love, and then she had, Raising Up Queens, and then, From Trouble to High Places. And so she transformed her, raising kids into, like almost what she's an expert at. So that was
Right, right. You can't tell her anything about raising kids.
She did her thing, and she did it well.
Okay,
And then,
okay.
And then I had, my father.
And what's your dad's name?
My father's Arthur.
Arthur. Okay.
Arthur,
Shout out to
so-
Arthur, Mr. Arthur.
So, he when you think of the
Wow, your parents are named Arthur and Esther. A&E, like the channel.
and listen, all of us, everyone, we all have this is no knock on anyone with a name that's more difficult to pronounce, but my family we all have like I'm James, my older brother is Arthur, my younger brother is Sean,
Right.
Patrick, Amanda. So the names are
Common.
Yes, very
Easy
common.
to
And
pronounce.
listen, so I've never gone somewhere and someone questioned my ethnicity when they looked at my application. It's actually more likely that they would be shocked when I walked into the room because you don't really know what you're gonna get.
Right. James could be black. He
Yeah,
could be
I
white.
could be anybody. So,
Right.
but my father, he to this day for me is probably one of the most opposing figures on the planet.
Okay.
And so
You still wouldn't give your dad a fair one.
Listen, my dad, he struggles, to move around a little bit. He played football at Rutgers, so
Okay.
bad knees.
What
bad
position?
hip. He was a lineman, offensive lineman,
Okay.
offensive guard.
Oh, so your dad was a big dude.
So he's a big dude.
Explains
big dude.
a lot.
Yeah. So listen, I'm in the scope of things. I'm a little guy.
Right.
Compared to my dad.
You're an undersized lineman compared to him. Right.
Absolutely. So, so he, we've always been into athletics. That was like a big part of everything that we did.
Okay.
But as I got older, I realized that he was, he was a pillar in the community. You talk to anybody in the city of Camden, and they know my father, whether it be through the support that he provided through the Centerville Simbas or.
What's the Centerville Symbols?
Centerville Simbas is a youth athletic league, so they had youth baseball. Their big thing was youth football. They
Okay.
went stretches, going undefeated, where nobody in the area could beat them.
Right.
And so, but it was like through the idea of discipline and taking a lot of these experiences that these kids have in their home and their neighborhood and in the streets and giving them an outlet for it.